essentially, guys, there are two star running backs, Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, who have till Monday to sign their franchise tag tender. Both have said they are not happy with signing the franchise tag and will allegedly hold out if there's not a long-term contract extension signed. Dalvin Cook is still a free agent. So in a world
So is Ezekiel Elliott. So is Kareem Hunt.
And all three of those guys are 27.
And I guarantee you the Bengals are saying to Joe Mixon right now, this is happening, hey, you got to take a pay cut or we're going to cut you too. And what job are you going to get?
Yeah, it's astonishing how the running back, which was already devalued,
right,
how it's even more devalued now.
100%. Because Zeke Elliott and Kareem Hunt look like they've declined. Dalvin Cook was still great last year.
Tremendous. And the fact that he is available says one of two things. He doesn't want to sign. He doesn't want to be in camp. Or there's just no market for him, which I can't imagine. I can't imagine there's no market for a player like him.
Go ahead, Mike. So what?
I guess my question is, in today's version of the NFL, fair or not, would you ever give a long-term contract to a running back?
I would not.
I would not either.
No.
And what do you mean by long-term?
More than a 2-year deal.
Yeah, I don't see their need for it.
No, I understand why the players are frustrated. Like Saquon Barkley's like, when I've been healthy, I've been fantastic. Josh Jacobs was maybe the best running back in the league last year.
First team All-Pro.
Right? Dalvin Cook, we didn't mention Leonard Fournette, although he's really in decline.
He's 28, I believe, but boy,
But I don't want to spend a lot of. First of all, it's very clear that having an elite running back and winning, there's no connection there.
Well, we're proof of that.
I mean, right, exactly. Look at the teams that have been in the Final Four in the playoffs. Most in recent years, most of those teams have had average, maybe above average, but even below average backs.
It's a bad time to have your best player be a running back.
Yeah.
That's
you can't spend a lot of money at that position.
So let me ask y'all this question. Do you believe, right now there's 32 teams, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe that at one point in time, every one of the 32 teams are going to have a good quarterback?
No.
Okay.
No, right.
So every one of them got 30. If you one of the teams, maybe 5 or 6 that don't.
Yeah.
There's more than that.
You still need running backs because so think about it. I've been trying to think about this too. Say for instance we get to a top 15 where those guys in the 15 are so good, there are no distinctive differences between them, right? So it's a coin flip when you play, right?
Sure.
So if it's a coin flip because these guys are so good, what if you need a piece to put you over the top or a guy that you can say, okay, well, this is the difference between us and them. Because when we get the ball and we got a quarterback, you're not going to win. But you don't have a guy that can run the clock out like we got.
Yeah.
We don't got a guy that can put the game in.
They're commodities, but they're not the
They're
commodities.
not
Look, think about the best backs in the league, all right? Christian McCaffrey, now he's on the Niners. Now we'll see.
Right.
It depends on their quarterback situation. He has not won anything.
Nope.
No.
Nick Chubb has won one playoff game. Derrick Henry's won what? One playoff game, maybe 2. They haven't done anything.
I could argue those teams ain't got quarterbacks.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
True. Okay, so who's the team that has a great quarterback and a great running back? Because teams with great quarterbacks.
For a while we thought it was Dallas.
Right, teams with great quarterbacks
Zeke
are like.
and Dak have won nothing.
Because teams with great quarterbacks have to spend so much money on their quarterback, and they want to keep the best wide receivers, right?
I thought the Packers had a good Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
They had Aaron Rodgers.
They had an elite. Yeah,
and
that's
then they had Dylan and Aaron Jones.
But neither one of those guys is Nick Chubb.
Elite.
They're in that next group. They're very good backs, but they're not elite.
Would you say the
Kamara
Chargers
and Drew Brees,
Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler?
What's difficult about this question
is they haven't won.
It's hard to have an elite both because if you have an elite quarterback, you're likely throwing the ball more. And if you have an elite running back, you're likely throwing the ball less. So it's really tough for one offense to have an elite running back and an elite
unless it's a guy that catches, like Austin Eckler is a great running back, especially catching passes.
Right.
And so he's
now,
a big part of the passing
I'll give you a team that's had that in the past. Well, a lot of teams have had that in the past.
Yeah, sure.
But I go back to the greatest show on turf. And when the Rams were at their best, and when they were blowing teams out and scoring 45 a game, they had Warner, obviously, who didn't have the pedigree of a great quarterback.
Right.
But he certainly became a great quarterback.
Right.
And they had Marshall Faulk, who was definitely an elite back. So
and a big-time pass catcher.
they had two of them. Yeah.
No. I'm saying he was a elite pass catcher. In addition
he
to
did
the guy,
everything. He
to
ran
Holt
it,
and Bruce
he
and
blocked.
Right,
and
he was
and
great.
he caught it.
But
So-
here's the thing now, and what I look at running backs is defenses are so geared to stop the passing game. Like that's all they're focused on. That Minnesota said, yeah, you know what, Dalvin Cook's a great back. But I got this kid, Alexander Madison. Maybe he's not quite as good as Cook, but he's close enough. And they're worried about Justin Jefferson and our passing game. Alex Madison making a third of what Dalvin Cook is making.
Probably less than that.
Right. Is going to be almost as good. So we might as well do that.
Yeah, so it's dollar cost averaging.
Yeah.
If you can get 100 yards a game from a back, but you have to pay him $8 million a season.
Or
you
more.
could
Dalvin Cook was getting more than that.
It would be even more than that now. But if you could get 80 yards a game or 65 yards a game, and you're paying the guy in the 100,000 a game range, it is a no-brainer.
Plus, the analytics are telling you that you're better off in most cases using two backs.
Right.
So why am I going to pay a ton for this one guy when I could have two good guys instead of one great guy,
and they'll still pay them less?
Right.
I would look at the numbers, and I would say, here's where I would consider paying somebody. I would do a 3-year deal. Like, I would give you a 3-year deal. Like, we talked about the Guardians of pitching. Like, they are operating on 6-year deals. Guardians are never going to sign nobody after they're done or leave. They'll go to arbitration a few times, but when the rubber meets the road, they are going to be getting young guys who are going to pitch 6 years, and then they'll go off. And
if they become superstars, they're out of the Guardians' price range.
Yes. So for running backs, if it was
Same
me,
thing.
running backs, I'm like, okay, I'll give you if you get to 24, 25.
Yeah.
I'll get you a 3-year deal maybe, and get you do something with you. But that would only be contingent on how many yards per carry that you average, how many people you can make miss, because I value the fact that, guess what, we might be in wide receiver sets where they got to have more DBs, and if you can make one guy miss, you can go for longer yards. Or if they have home run hitting ability, a guy that if he
a game breaker,
if he turns 5 into 40, or those 40-yard carries, you're not touching them as touchdowns, because what I value is I don't like my guys getting tackled inside the goal line. I want, when it's supposed to be a touchdown, I want 7.
Right.
Because I don't want to take other snaps.
So kicking field goals gets
Think about this, guys. I think this sums up the whole thing. How often do you have a quarterback come out of nowhere and be great? Happened with Brock Purdy last year, but that's very rare.
Kurt Warner.
Even at wide receiver, it doesn't happen that often. Most of the wide receivers that great, even if it takes a year or two, are guys that were highly drafted or at least second and third round picks. They don't come completely out of nowhere. Same thing with pass rushers. At running back, there's guys that come out of nowhere, late draft picks, undrafted players, all the time.
Kareem Hunt came from nowhere.
Well, he was a high pick.
Played at Toledo, though.
No.
Well, yeah.
I mean, and I don't think he was
a third-round pick.
Yeah, that's not a high pick to me.
But I'm
a high
saying,
pick is a first or a second round.
I'm talking about there's running backs drafted 5th, 6th, 7th round, undrafted all the time. That become good because they get opportunity.
Well, Walter Payton played college football where?
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere.
Jackson State.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah. It happens way more at that position than any other position.
Now, if I have a team that has a quarterback that is legit, and there's a guy coming out of college that is a monster, that's a home run hitter, I'll draft him in the first round or the second round. And the reason I'll do it is because your team is already set up, and you can.
That's different because you're not spending huge money.
And you can take advantage of his prime years.
Really,
but then I'm letting him go after that first country.
It's all about roster management.
Yep.
That's what. At the end of the day, you're allocated so many dollars, and the teams that reward running backs with too many of those allotted dollars are in spots at other positions, and they don't win. And it's amazing to me how that position has been devalued. My young football years were the 70s. And I look back at the O.J. Simpsons.
Oh, sure.
And the Tony Dorsetts.
Earl Campbell.
And the Francos. And the Campbells. Those are the guys that drove the league. Those are the guys, by the way, Franco Harris in Pittsburgh led them to 4 championships. Those teams that were all-time great were oftentimes, Terry Bradshaw, look at his numbers.
Yeah, they suck.
Terry Bradshaw would be cut today. He threw about half of his.
It's a different game.
It's a
in
different
fairness,
game.
but
I understand
yes,
that, but
Joe Namath's numbers aren't that good either.
Look at how the game has been. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Look at how the game has from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the 20s. It has completely changed how we value that position.
No doubt.
And if you overpay at that position, you're going to pay for it later.
There's a couple of other positions that have, like, the game changes, and you just watch the way people view different positions. At once upon a time, receivers position, you don't draft a receiver in the first. It was almost like running backs. Right. Why would you draft one of those guys? But now you're throwing the ball.
Now having
so
that elite wide receiver is huge.
It's huge.
Sure.
Offensive linemen. Remember when they used to say, you draft the offensive lineman in the first round every year, get your left tackle.
You don't think about it for 10 years.
10 years. Nah, that's not the case no more. Because guess what? You can't hit a quarterback. You can't hit him low. You can't hit him high. The ball is coming out quicker because you can't hold the guys. So if you got an elite quarterback like Joe Burrow showed us. You can get all the way to the Super Bowl if you got a good enough quarterback, and you ain't even got to have a great play caller or a crazy offensive line. If you get rid of the ball quickly and you have home run hitters at receiver, it showed you a new way of doing it. You don't have to pay your left tackle all this crazy money.
Another position that has become valued more is tight end.
Yep.
Tight end,
right.
Outside of Ozzie Newsome, in the 70s and 80s, you didn't even really know the tight end. He was mostly blocking.
Yeah. Dwight Clark.
Occasionally he would catch a ball. Occasionally.
Right, but no.
I think Belichick is the guy that really turned tight ends into field stretchers and game changers. But now, look at the impact. I think the best pass catcher in football right now is a tight end.
Yes.
And I would say Travis Kelce.
Yeah, he's right there.
He's the guy I want my quarterback throwing the ball to the most.
It's cyclical. The way you play the game changes the way everybody views people.
Linebackers devalued, a position that's gone way up in value, the slot corner.
Yeah.
That's gone up in value.
That's a fact.
Because it's like a starter now.
Teams are throwing
we
so
tell
much
Greg
more.
Newsome, calm down. They probably came in and say, hey, Greg, we've already forecasted this. Don't worry. You're a slot guy. It does, trust me.
Slot guys will end up getting paid a lot more.
Yeah, they don't still behind pay-wise, but they're valued.
They'll catch up.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, they'll catch up.